underrated games in week 5 of college football is going to be out west between Washington State and Boise State. These are two teams that have very exciting offenses, and they face head to head in what should be a very exciting matchup for both teams. Both teams have big implications in this game. And you have the 4-0 Cougars going against the 2-1 Boise State Broncos. And you're looking at a very interesting line as Boise State is a 7-point favorite. That was kind of surprising when I looked at some of these lines were very interesting for week 5, and this is one of them. And when you look at what both teams need to do, it's going to be interesting to see which one of them can contain the other team's offense. For Washington State, obviously, the biggest question, probably the most obvious question for anybody in week 5 is how does Washington State contain Ashton Jeanty? Ashton Jeanty is a phenomenal player for Boise State. He has been explosive, absolute unit running the football, and Washington State must find a way to slow him down. If they can do that, you feel pretty good about your chances to win. Kind of the same thing for Boise State is how do you limit big plays? John Mateer is going to be really fun to watch going against Andrew Simpson and what that linebacker for Boise State can do to slow him down. How do you limit those big plays? It's going to start with slowing down John Mateer. Now, that's easier said than done a lot of times, and teams such as San Jose State have found that to be difficult. One thing I think if you're a Boise State fan is you saw that San Jose State is a very good team in terms of they can put up points, and they put up 52 against Washington State last week. Now, the Cougars did find a way to hang on and win. So you have to find ways to slow them down. Limiting those big plays keeps Washington State off the field probably longer than you or for what you want. And when you look at Washington State and what they want to do, they want to be putting up points in a hurry. Boise State has a defense that is flying around the field so far. And if they can get ways to slow down that offense, you feel like the momentum swings in Boise State's favor. And it's an offense. Boise State can put up points. I just don't think that they're designed to play in those shootout type games. You want to keep it a little bit more lower scoring. But I think you're feeling pretty good about where you're at. You just have to answer that big question. How do you limit those explosive plays for both sides? That probably determines who comes out ahead in this one. The impact players for Boise State. The obvious one is Ashton Jeanty, and Ashton Jeanty's been a stud. The ability to break tackles, to break off big plays has been huge for this team. Boise State has thrived when Ashton Jeanty has been really good, and they have also been afforded the luxury of playing some younger players to get experience and experience in big moments too. That's been really helpful. Even with Genty's domination, you feel like you are in a good place because you have good depth. Maddox Matson is going to be the key for this offense, though. Matson is going to be the X factor for this team this entire year because Ashton Genty is someone who is going to get a ton of attention. People know who he is. They're going to have him circled. They have him marked on the depth chart. This is the guy we have to stop. The teams are going to try to force Maddox Matson to beat them with his arm. And maybe, he's got the legs to make out some plays, but you're going to see teams try and force Maddox Matson to beat them instead of Ashton Jeanty. Now, the fortunate thing for him is he has a group of wide receivers that are flying under the radar. Cam Camper is one of the biggest additions by any team in the transfer portal that no one's really talking about. And we saw that last week. We've seen that so far this year, averaging over 22 yards per catch. He has been really good coming in from Indiana. I think that was one of the more slept on additions in the transfer portal by any team in college football. Andrew Simpson's going to have his hands full. John Mateer gives Washington State a little bit of a different look. You're not used to seeing the quarterback run for Washington State, but you feel pretty good about what your defense can do. Again, this is a Boise State defense that is playing with a ton of confidence and maybe isn't the best defense in college football, but they have plenty of players that can make life miserable if you are not careful, if you are Washington State. Ahmad Hassanein has been as advertised so far this year up front. That defensive line, everything kind of runs through him, and he has been really good so far. So it'll be fun to see what he can do to help slow down that Washington State offense. Now, the impact players for Washington State, everything starts with John Mateer. Again, it's really weird to see a Washington State quarterback run as much as John Mateer has done. Now, I didn't do math, but I'm pretty sure his 425 yards in just the 4 games is probably more than like the last 20 quarterbacks Washington State's had combined, just because they were such a pass heavy team. It's weird seeing a quarterback for Washington State take off with his legs, but he has been really good, and he is going to provide plenty of challenges for Boise State. And he has done that against every team he's faced so far. He has provided plenty of things to think about, whether that's with his arm, whether that's with his legs. And he's done things well with his legs, but also when you look at the talent he has to throw to, Kyle Williams and Chris Hudson are really good. That passing attack is still very lethal. He has already over 1,100 yards, Mateer does, and 11 touchdowns passing. So it's not like he's just a runner. He can throw. It's just you see him running a lot more than you expected. Kyle Williams has been a really good player. We expected him to be one of the best players on this team, and he has been as advertised as well. Chris Hudson comes in from Oregon and has been a nice addition to this passing attack. Ethan O'Connor is having a really good year. He's been a ball hawk for this team. And while Boise State isn't going to throw the football a ton, they are still going to give plenty of opportunities to make plays on the football. O'Connor is going to have to cover some really explosive players for Boise State. And I think that he can get the job done. I think that he's going to be really fun to watch against that team. Ender Edson has a big year so far. And part of that, slowing down that offense for Boise State, is going to be getting in the backfield, being disruptive, hitting Ashton Denty in the backfield, as well as getting to Maddox Matson. Whoever does a better job of what they do well, whichever team limits more explosive plays for the opposing offense, that is the team that's going to win this game. Boise State is a very good team, but Washington State's also 4-0. So the winner of this game obviously keeps everything they want in store. The loser might lose out on what they want.